I think a good subjective measure of success will be when the narrative around XRP changes from this sentiment-driven thing that it is today to a yield-friendly asset. Like in Ethereum, everybody associates ETH with yield. Like you want to get to that point. You want people to know that the XRP could have a yield associated with it. Like it's so seamless that every XRP holder should think about it that way.
Hey guys, and welcome back to I'm Studying Life. Now let's get this out of the way. How many of you are sitting here not even knowing what FLR or Flare Network is? I'm going to assume some have never heard the name, while others, you're clued up. So what is Flare Network?
Hugo, co-founder of Flare Network. Flare is its own dedicated layer one, focused around data protocols, really heavily decentralizing data protocols. And we use those data protocols, at least in the first outing, as in the first set of products that are coming to Flare, to essentially unlock the DeFi capabilities of tokens like XRP. Although we won't be stopping there, we're very focused on XRP because we think it's been ignored for DeFi purposes for a very, very long time. So although we're not building directly on the XRP ledger, we are building what we think of as sort of the strongest DeFi offering for XRP. And that's because we're an EVM-based network, which means that builders can slot into Flare very, very easily. And we think that being able to liberate what is currently around $150 billion of value and bring it to DeFi on Flare is a very useful value proposition.
So it supports Ethereum-style smart contracts, but with something far more powerful: built-in decentralized data protocols. The Flare Time Series Oracle, FTSO, for price feeds, and the State Connector for real-world blockchain event verification. F-Asset System. This lets non-smart contract assets like XRP, BTC, Doge to become usable in DeFi.
I assume when people talk about bringing XRP to DeFi, you're really talking about finding a yield, correct?
Yeah, finding a yield or using your XRP to remain long, but get yield on other assets.
So what does that look like for someone who's holding XRP and wants to put it to work?
So for instance, just like a basic thing, like having something like Maker for XRP, whereby you can use your XRP as collateral to create a stablecoin. You can take that stablecoin, buy another asset with it, or put it into a DEX or a lending pool, get yield on it. Somewhere you're able to essentially transform an asset that doesn't have yield into an asset that does have yield.
Picture Flare as the operating system that transforms XRP and other tokens into programmable yield-generating instruments, something they never could be on their own. Now, all these things we're mentioning is not new to some of you. In fact, you're already in the club. If you know about FLR, you're not just holding a token. You're in a small group that sees what's next. You're playing 3D chess. Seriously, congrats. And for the rest of you, well, this is your opportunity to sink your teeth into a project that can become life-changing.
As part of that, we always look at how can you unlock this capital that has been in the early chains that is very resilient, is very large, but never seen a yield in their existence. So in that category, you can put XRP, XLM, and others. And when Hugo approached us with this idea, we thought it was brilliant because we focus on building a strategy that combine different assets. So the canonical example for XRP would be supply XRP, borrow stables, deploy those stables, but you need to manage the liquidation risk. At a scale, supply XRP, borrow FLR, loop it, but also you need to be careful with the slippage and liquidation risk, and that's what our platform automate. So we thought the combination was very powerful, and the initial reactions has been pre-launch has been very strong.
Let's look at real-world analogy. Flare in everyday life. Think of FLR and F assets like your university ID, right? But they're upgraded. So that ID grants access to the library, the lab, the cafeteria, etc. Suddenly, you're not just attending classes, you're unlocking every experience on campus. Now, instead of your bank account just sitting there, FLR wraps your XRP into FXRP. giving you access to earning yield, lending platforms, liquidity pools, like going from a student ID to full VIP access at the financial club.
Yeah, as I look at the notes, we have FXRP, STXRP. How do all of these work, and how can your average person understand it? I always get, even myself, I always get caught up in the weeds of all the different staking products and wrapped products and different ways that we can use these. I also giggled before because you're talking about unlocking yield of sort of these legacy, longer existing coins, and I was just thinking Bitcoin could use that too.
Yeah, but it's interesting. So if you look at obviously Bitcoin has a yield in CeFi via basis, but if you look at DeFi, the most popular yield has been on points with things like Babylon and all that. That's, I think, exhausted, and the narrative is a little bit weak. So the way you earn yields, so this idea I can deploy Bitcoin and earn 5-6% doesn't exist anymore. The way you earn yields in Bitcoin today, like in any other market, you exploit asymmetry. So you deploy BTC, you borrow stables, and you deploy a trade on stables, and say with Ripple stablecoin at 12-14%, and you earn 5-6% in BTC. Now, if BTC drops in prices, you can get liquidated. So you have to have algorithms and manage that, and that's what we do. So for all these assets, you need to enter a strategy with non-yield friendly assets and do the second leg with yield friendly assets. So.
Make any sense? All right, let's look at the competition Flare has. Competitors like Chainlink, oracles from Ethereum, they don't build data right into the layer. Flare does. That means it's faster, more secure, and doesn't need sketchy bridge tech. Flare equals trust built into the DNA. Trust is everything. Just ask the guy that got caught in a compromising position with his ex. Oh no. Now if we switch this to XRP, we can see that it's always been fast and cheap to move. But in DeFi, we were sleeping on the sidelines. Flare is the one that wakes XRP up.
Of course, we think that, in offering institutional grade products, both to retail and institutions sit on a large amount of XRP, there's an element of custodialness in the way people will interact with it, meaning that the majority of retail, their XRP is probably going to be staked via a custodial institution like an exchange. But Flare itself is very structured to be entirely non-custodial.
You see, Flare gives XRP two bonuses. The first one, yield. Imagine staking XRP and getting 4 to 7% returns in a DeFi vault via Centaurus Firelight. Institutional credibility. Vivo Power putting $100 million of institutional capital into XRP on Flare. That's a legacy bank level move and validates the entire stack. If you try to view it from a relationship, right? So between a man and a woman. Think of XRP as the person with value, trustworthy, but a bit quiet. Flare's the wingman who brings the spotlight, the opportunity, the connection to have the two conversing. So what now happens in the real world if FLR and XRP come together?
In terms of the yields, right, obviously it changes with the market, but given the demand and the current momentum with the stable coins, or all our tests, and also a lot of the things that Flare is launching on DeFi show that we can be on the 4 to 6, 7% on yield on XRP, which for an asset that never seen a yield, that the cost of capital is fundamentally zero, is extremely attractive.
Well, for example, HSBC might start using XRP wrapped on Flare for cross-border yield. Supermarkets could settle micropayments in FXRP with instant finality and transparency. YouTube or Netflix, they could pay creators in real time, smart contract style, using FXRP as payroll. Real DeFi integration. So once again, if you actually know about Flare, you're in a premium beta group. you're not on the sidelines watching another macro narrative. Like you get it, and that matters. So be proud to tell people you saw what was next. Now drop in the comments, which one are you holding? FLR, XRP, or both? And what are your price targets for 2025? Don't forget to like, comment, sub, and keep studying.